Brian Mudd Show is on Newsradio 610 WIOD.
There are so many different scammers out there. There are so many different ways with which we can be scammed. You think about telephone, email, texts, you name it. Then you add into it the thought about the next greatest thing. And we saw the kits. We talked about this even a little bit last week about the bogus test kits early on in the pandemic. Many more fake products out there, including vaccines. Concerns about those. Rania Mankarious from Crime Stoppers is joining us once again at the Rania Report on Twitter. Rania, in terms of the overall trends for these scammers this holiday season, are more people trying to scam on COVID than actually the normal holiday scams?
Absolutely. COVID is where it's at for these scammers because COVID packs with it so much emotion, so much fear, and such a desire to just get past it. And they use all of that against the community in an effort to steal your identity, steal your hard-earned dollars, and anything else they can get from you.
Randy, like any scams, some are more convincing than others, even for those who are discerning. What have you seen in particular that you think is one of the biggest threats that's out there?
Well, everybody now is talking about these vaccines and the push to get the vaccines, and there's a lot of information that's accurate, and there's a lot of misinformation. And really, the vaccines, we're thankful they're on their way, but they're going to nursing homes and healthcare workers first, and they are being given out very strategically. So if you're one of those people that happens to get an email or a text or sees an ad, you click here to get your dose of the vaccine. It's only going to cost you $19.99. That's a red flag that something's not right. These vaccines will be given out for free. There will be a small administration fee possibly to couple the vaccine, but they're not going to be given out through a third party. They will be given out through a medical facility. So be careful. There's also no do-it-yourself. You can't have a do-it-yourself kit. There's things being sold online right now that say just add water and you'll have your own at-home vaccine. We're seeing so many different things, a system called a virus bioshield, a biomagnetism, a magnetic therapy do-it-yourself kit, a stay well piece of copper that says you can put it on you and it will rid your body of the coronavirus. They're advertising a coronavirus cough syrup. The stuff we're seeing is absolutely unbelievable, and people are falling for it.
All right, so add water to a chia pet. Don't add water to anything and think that it's going to cure you or protect you from the coronavirus is a takeaway here. You know, outside of the scammers and some of what we're hearing about with the virus, I want to get your thoughts. We have reports, violent crime reports from most big cities around the country, and we are seeing huge increases this year in violent crime. I mean, Chicago leads the list, but it's far from there. We shouldn't be surprised that cities like Seattle, New York City are seeing increases 30, 40, 50% in violent crime during the pandemic. How much of this is a byproduct of the defund the police movement and politicians that have put an end to proactive policing in some of these cities?
Oh, my gosh, this is the best question that can ever be asked of me. It's where I wish I could talk about this all day, every day. We are seeing these major spikes in crime, and a lot of people want to say, oh, it's all related to coronavirus. And while we have these elected officials that spend most of their time pleading with people to wear a mask and stay home because, God forbid, of course, anybody dies from COVID-19. But what I'm doing is sitting here screaming at the top of my lungs, well, what about all these average citizens that are dying from criminal justice reform that has been put in place by local municipalities that is actually hurting, that is actually killing? In Houston, in Harris County alone, we have the highest murder rate we've had in almost 20 years because our local municipalities have decided that you can have committed a murder, that probable cause is there, but we're going to let you go because it's unconstitutional. It's unfair for you to be held for a day even while your case is being looked at or adjudicated.
Unreal.
And we're releasing again violent habitual felony offenders across major cities. You couple that with a defund the police movement, law enforcement feels like they're operating with their hands tied behind their back, and it's completely wrong, and average citizens are paying the price.
Well, and Rania, you actually hit on something that ties into my next question for you. How much of this is state attorneys versus what police are being allowed to do and state attorneys that just are not prosecuting the way they should?
No, it's a big mix because you have law enforcement that's being looked at, reviewed across all major cities. I was part of the mayor's task force here that reviewed how law enforcement will operate. They know that there's heightened scrutiny with anything that they do. That one wrong move means they not only lose their job, they lose their livelihood, their families' lives are in jeopardy. And then you mix that with the policies that are in place. And it's just a recipe literally for disaster. And what's happening is criminals know this. And, I keep saying if these criminals would just take the time that they're putting in sort of to commit this crime to do something good. Of course, we all say that things would be so different, but they realize now that in major cities, everything's on their side. They've read the room. Everything is on their side. Yeah, they might get arrested, but they're going to be let out. Most likely, if they will be able to plea out of certain crimes. Everything's on their side. And one of the things I keep saying is to be tough on crime does not mean you don't have compassion. I am tough on crime, but I want somebody to face a reasonable punishment. I want speedy trials. I want rehabilitation once they are serving time. And I think we are doing a disservice to these defendants who we repeatedly release because when we release them, their crimes only escalate. So we're not doing them any favors as well.
Well said. Rania Mankarious,